What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream from the League FFB. We missed last week. I was on vacation, but we're back at it again today. Today, we're going to be talking about our reactions, some analysis, and all that other stuff from NFL free agency. So buckle up. It's going to be an NFL free agency frenzy episode. We got War here. Again, I've been doing it on every video over the last couple of days. So you guys will probably see it today, tomorrow, whatever, because I've been front loading a lot of content because I take a work trip to Baltimore here in the tomorrow, actually, is when I head out. But if my voice sounds terrible, I got sick when I was in Orlando. So I'm sorry. I know I sound like I just sound bad. So anyways, let's get War up in here, man. And let's really just get this thing started. War, what's good, man?
What's good? What's good?
Man,
it's good on a beautiful Sunday morning.
Yeah, I had to shut
Sunday.
my blinds. I had to shut my blinds because it was so bright. But it's been a little bit since we talked, man. And since we were on live last, the Chicago Bears traded away the number one.
That did indeed happen. I think the parameters of the trade was pretty close to what I initially said it would be. I was about one player off. I thought we would get Brian Burns too, but that would have been a little bit too greedy on our parts, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this, because I just want to talk a little bit of the news before we hop into the free agency, and this kind of plays into it because it's, teams are making these moves because of free agency, right? So, how do you feel about DJ Moore in Chicago?
It's funny because fantasy-wise, I've never been the biggest DJ Moore guy. Never been the biggest DJ Moore guy. But now he's on the Bears, I'm like Team DJ Moore. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely a number one wide receiver. I wouldn't say that he's like an elite wide receiver like J.J. Chase, for example. I put DJ in that same caliber of a DK Metcalf, that kind of area. Despite that, I will not trade you DK Metcalf for DJ Moore. um, um, I see him in that area. I think he'll be a big boost for Justin Fields for sure.
Fair enough. And in other news too, there was a trade this morning before we hopped on, and it was Brandon Cooks got traded to the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what? What's funny is I was doing the new setup, setting up the camera and the new lighting and everything, and I overheard on ESPN play. I heard Brandon Cooks' name, and I was just like, "Why are you talking about Brandon Cooks on a random Sunday in March?" But now I guess it's because he got traded to America's team.
Yep.
So,
They said
what was the compensation?
fifth round and a sixth round pick. The fifth round is this year. The sixth round is next year, I think.
Well, we know during the deadline he was making a lot of noise about wanting to be moved. Um, so, I mean, there it is. I guess that kind of probably eliminates the whole OBJ thing for Dallas.
And the
And
D
now you
Hop.
got to see what you can do with CD Lamb and Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is a very capable wide receiver. For the life of me, I don't know how he keeps getting traded from team to team to team, but the man does his job. That's for sure.
Yeah, 6,000-yard seasons from Brandon Cooks. I saw a tweet this morning, and it was like the career compensation that teams have got from Brandon Cooks was like 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, a fifth-round pick, and a sixth-round pick for Brandon Cooks over the course of his career. So for whatever reason, he keeps getting traded, and it's like every time he gets traded, he just gets a little cheaper and a little bit cheaper, and who knows?
Yep.
Maybe next year he's on another team and it's for a seventh.
Yeah, probably.
So,
Probably.
anyways, and then Laramie Tunsil. I know it's not fantasy related, but Laramie Tunsil signed the largest contract for a tackle ever. It was, I think, the most guaranteed money ever, and it was 3 years, $75 million.
Yeah, I see. I see. I was able to see that before we hopped on. I mean, I could have sworn that there was like a rumor that he was getting traded, like when free agency kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess this kind of shuts the door on that possibility of him being moved. So,
Yep.
um, good for Laramie Tunsil, man. Go get your bag, brother.
And he represents himself, so he showed Lamar that it can be done if you just are willing to go get the deal done.
Lamar's the only one. Raquan did it. Laramie Tunsil did it. Lamar's the only one who's poorly representing himself right now.
And did you see the rumors of the contract that Lamar turned down?
I heard two different things. I heard some stuff he
It was
denied. I heard some stuff.
it was from Lamar himself. He tweeted out the offer that he got, and he said he declined it. And it was 3 years, $133 million. And I want to say that he said it was fully guaranteed. So he would have had 3 years. It would have made him the highest paid on a per year basis of all quarterbacks, but he wanted more years on top of it and more guaranteed money. And I don't know, man. It just feels, I don't know. It feels like he doesn't want to get a deal done with the Ravens.
Man, I don't know how this Lamar thing is even going to come to a conclusion at this point. I don't know. It's starting more and more to feel like he's not going to be there, isn't it?
A little bit.
It just feels like it. It feels like I feel like at some point, feelings get too involved. The water's getting a little too muddy, and now like it's becoming harder and harder to see him being able to be back in the Baltimore Ravens uniform. So uh, we'll see, man.
Yeah, we will for sure. And then I'm getting just a tiny bit of audio feedback on your side. Uh, I'm hearing like an echo of myself. So maybe you're coming out of your laptop speakers or maybe
Let me
something like
see.
that.
Yeah, let me tinker with that a little bit here.
You're good. But while you're doing that, I'm going to just pull up the free agency tracker here. I'm using Spotrac. .com, so it shows you all your sports contracts, it shows you all your free agents, it shows you everything. And we'll just go position by position. We'll talk about fantasy positions only, so quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and we'll talk about the big guys, what it means for fantasy football, what it means for the guys that they are. I'm not getting any feedback now, so you're good.
Okay.
So we'll talk about who it hurts, who it helps, all that good stuff, right? We'll just talk all fantasy football from there. So let's just start at the quarterback position. And the biggest contract so far has been Derek Carr to the Saints. And we've touched on it a little bit, but what does Derek Carr to the Saints mean for guys like Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, because he restructured and is staying there, Juwan Johnson? What does it mean for these guys?
I definitely think that it gives a boost to the skill players on the team. It's a lot better than what they had last year, to be honest. Get a lot more consistency than what you had with Jameis. And I'll be completely honest, I forgot that Andy Dalton was even their quarterback last year. And being
Yeah.
a Bears fan, I know what Andy Dalton brings to the table, and the answer is not much. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a boost for Chris Olave, and it's a boost for the other kids who I picked him on my fantasy team. He's very under the radar. I think he's going to
Rashid
have
Shaheed,
Rashid Shaheed.
Weber
I'm
State
expecting some
alumni,
things.
baby.
Yeah, yeah, I'm expecting some things from Rashid Shaheed. Michael Thompson, I don't think he got much left, but we'll see. But yeah, I definitely think that Derek Carr provides a boost to that team.
I agree. I think Derek Carr, for better or for worse, I don't know if I even said the contract terms, but it's 4 years, $150 million. 100 million of that 150 million is totally guaranteed. So um it's a pretty significant deal. It pretty much locks Derek Carr in as the Saints franchise quarterback for at least the next 3 years, probably. Because I think that fourth year is voidable. There is a potential out after 3 years, but it is going to lock Derek Carr in New Orleans for about 3 seasons. And so, um, like I said, for better or for worse, I think that's going to tie Carr to Olave for the remainder of his rookie contract. And with the current wide receiver core that they have there in New Orleans, I have to think that Olave is going to be the guy for him. As much as some people like Michael Thomas, I think Olave is just the guy for him. And I think Olave is going to end up having. I think this is a slight upgrade. I'm not sure where he finished last year in rankings. My guess is he finished top 15, top 20 for sure. And I think this is going to kind of teeter Olave into that top 12 range, assuming that Derek Carr plays the same way that he was playing with Adams and Renfro and all those other guys. So I don't know, man. I think this is good for Olave. I think if you can, I don't know if you can buy Olave in fantasy football for a discount,
No,
but if you could
no.
buy Olave for less than that top 12 price, I'd probably be trying to do it because I think he's going to be pretty consistent over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I agree. Sky's the limit for Chris Olave.
Yeah, and I think also another sneaky buy that people are not paying attention to, and we'll talk about him a little bit later, but he just got a contract extension. And Juwan Johnson, tight end for the Saints, I think he's sneaky. Last year, he had a couple pretty solid games for them, enough obviously for them to go give him an extension. And getting a guy like Derek Carr, who is used to hitting the tight end position, he hit Darren Waller for years and years and years. Juwan Johnson might be a little sneaky. I'm not saying that he's going to be like a top 5 tight end, but once you get out of that top 5 tight ends anyways, you're kind of just throwing darts at the wall and hoping something sticks. And Juwan Johnson, you could probably get him for pennies on the dollar right now. You could probably go get him for a third or a fourth round rookie pick and throw him on the roster, and he's probably going to outperform whatever guy you were going to draft there anyways.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Especially with how scarce the tight end position is in fantasy. Yeah, I mean that'd definitely be a good ad. Allows you to focus on some other positions on your team while having at least a solid floor for a tight end in your starting lineup.
Yep, and I like tight ends like him because he's a converted wide receiver. So he was a wide receiver that converted to tight end, and just a little bit more of a slender tight end. He's a little more athletic. I just like that profile for tight ends. It usually
Yeah,
means pretty good things as far as receiving goes. He's not going to be on the field blocking, so he's not going to be on the field for every play like Kittle or Kelsey or guys like that. But
yeah.
he's going to be decent, and so Juwan Johnson's kind of a sleeper pick at tight end. But let's go to the other big quarterback that signed, and it was Jimmy Garoppolo, and he goes to the Raiders. So, what does Jimmy Garoppolo mean for Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers now and Josh Jacobs? What does that mean? What is Jimmy Garoppolo an upgrade? Is he a downgrade? Is it more of the same? Like,
It's more of the same. I don't expect a big uptick in anybody's production. I expect uh, I expect a slide for Jacoby Myers. I feel like in New England, as limited as Mac Jones was, at least Jacoby was the guy in New
mhm,
England, and now he's behind Devontae Adams. Hunter Renfro's still there. If they trade Hunter Renfro, that'll change my perspective on it a little bit. But can you really see Jimmy Garoppolo providing much more than Derek Carr? I mean, I'll give Jimmy Garoppolo enough credit to think that he could produce similar to Derek Carr, but that's if he even stays healthy. So,
yeah,
um, and on top of that, Devontae may even experience a slide because unlike Derek Carr, Devontae and Garoppolo, they aren't, college pals and everything. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think it really moves. It doesn't move the needle for me at all.
yeah. I mean, it's a 3-year deal, $72 million. 45 million of it was guaranteed. So, there is a potential out in the contract after just one season. So, to me, this kind of tells you, hey, Jimmy's the guy for now, but we might draft a guy here in May and have a little bit of a battle because they have a top 7 pick. You think if Anthony Richardson is on the board, you think that Vegas might just say, "Hey, Jimmy, you are our guy for this year, and maybe we turn the reins over to Anthony Richardson in a year."
The only way I could see them getting Anthony Richardson is if they trade up with Arizona.
You don't think Richardson
Uh,
falls?
no, no, no. I don't think Richardson makes it out of like the first 5 picks. You have uh, you have Carolina,
They're gonna take
Texans,
quarterback.
Carolina,
Houston's taking a quarterback.
Texans, Cardinals, who won't take a quarterback, but probably should. Um, but
Oh,
probably should. Indianapolis, and then I believe after Indianapolis is Seattle. I mean,
it's
that's where you got to start questioning. Seattle's a wild card because yeah, they signed Geno, but I think even they have to be wondering if he's a one-hit wonder. They
yeah.
have to be
Well, I
wondering
think
it.
so.
Yeah. So I mean, I think
Yeah.
with
So 5 would be Seattle, 6 would be Detroit, 7 is Las Vegas.
yeah, so I can make an argument for both of those teams trying to grab Anthony Richardson,
Yeah, and because
especially Seattle.
you could sit Richardson behind Geno, you could sit him behind Jared Goff.
Like one thing I know for sure is that Seattle and Detroit, they aren't going to trade up to number 3 to grab them. They aren't going to
No.
move. I think they'll be happy to take whatever they take. Vegas is the only ones who I feel would be desperate enough to do it. Especially, did you see the trade compensation that they offered the Bears? That
Yeah.
they offered the Bears for the number 1 pick? Um, the first this year, first next year, the second this year, the first and the second in 25, I believe. I think that was the compensation. But Carolina had DJ Moore. So that was
Yep.
like the difference maker there. And if they already offered that for number 1, they could offer less than that, move up to number 3, get their Jimmy Garoppolo replacement, and, and then just call it a day. I actually think the more now let's come out of my mouth, yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay, fair enough. I personally think that the draft order, at least in the top, I think at least the top 5 is set now. I don't I don't think that Arizona should move out of that 3. I think I kind of put it in our group chat the other day with what I was saying about Will Anderson, but I feel like you're getting a gift. Will Anderson might be the best player in this whole draft,
Yeah,
and you're getting him at 3. It's like a little. I compared him to a slightly more athletic Nick Bosa, and if you can add that to your defense at the 3rd pick, and you don't have to trade, you don't have to do anything, and it just falls into your lap. Take it, dude. Like, do not move out of that. Just take it. Because what would a team give to have Nick Bosa on their roster today? Probably a lot.
I mean, it's not even out of play for the Bears to trade back up. Like, to be honest, like just listening to their GM the other day, I mean, I think that's a. I think what they want to happen. I think they want Jalen Carter to fall to 9. But like you said, Will Anderson could be a generational player. Could be the best player in this draft. And but then again, at the same time, why would the Cardinals trade out of that spot if that's the case? And it would
Yeah.
cost the Bears like all their compensation that they just got. No, I don't see
Yeah.
that happening. But
Yeah. I think Jalen Carter is going to be sneaky. I think the problem with Jalen Carter right now is just that there's concerns about obviously the
motivation, weight.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, he showed up to his pro day out of shape. Um, and I know there's a lot of mental stuff to what he's
I
dealing
was
with
about to
going
say
on right
that.
now. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in his life, so take it a little bit easy on the kid, but at the end of the day too, like, it was a job interview, you didn't show up ready. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there's 2 sides to the coin, and so I would just say that I think Jalen Carter's gonna be a steal if he can get under the right coaching staff that kinda just helps put that head back on the shoulders and just gets him on the right track. Jalen Carter, you could I would definitely be open to hearing the debate that he is equal equally as talented as Will Anderson. I would definitely be open to that debate, and I would not
yeah,
disagree with you by any means. So you could get one of the top players in the draft come pick 10, 11, 12, 13. Like, he's gonna fall. So it's just a
yeah.
matter of the concerns. But the only other thing I want to touch on for the Raiders and Jimmy G is that they traded Darren Waller to the Giants, and um, they don't have any tight end now. I think the only tight end on the roster is like Jasper Horsted or something like that. So likely we'll be getting a new one in either free agency or in the draft. The draft has a lot of tight ends. But what does that mean
Yeah.
for Darren Waller going from Derek Carr to Daniel Jones?
Number one receiving option in New York. So I think that's an uptick for Waller. Got to see if he stay healthy, see if he could just stay on the field enough to produce. But yeah, I mean, I don't really see them them having a. They haven't even re-signed Slayton. I don't think. I don't
No,
even think they. I
I know
can't
they
remember
were
which
wanting
one they
to.
signed. They signed either Shepard or Slayton. I can't remember which one, but one of
They
them still
did. They
unsigned.
for sure signed Shepard, and I know that they were wanting to or trying to re-sign Slate, and I'm not sure if the deal got done yet, but um, I know they were trying to get both.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, even with them there, Darren Waller is still the most talented receiver on that team.
Hmm.
And I mean, he plays a position where a very pedestrian quarterback could, have a security blanket to throw to. So I mean, I think I will see how he does because I definitely get the Mitchell Trubisky vibe from Daniel Jones.
Well, he got a
I
second
think I
deal,
think I mean he didn't even have that good of a year last year. He got a lot of hype for some reason. I think because he plays for New York, but
and they made the playoffs.
and they
Dable
made the
made the playoffs.
playoffs. But what does that mean in this day and age? I mean, the Bears made the playoffs a few years ago with a horrible roster. It got washed in the first round. So I don't like Daniel Jones. I think he sucks. But I
Fair
think
enough.
Darren Waller could definitely benefit from some good volume. So
Fair enough. And then just to close out this quarterback position, I'll name a couple of these smaller deals. You tell me if any of them are relevant or interesting at all. But Taylor Heineke, 2 years, $14 million for the Atlanta Falcons. Jacoby Brissett, 1 year, $8 million for the Commanders. Andy Dalton, 2 years, $10 million for the Panthers. Marcus Mariota, 1 year, $5 million for the Eagles. Mike White, 2 years, $8 million for the Dolphins. Baker Mayfield, 1 year, $4 million for the Buccaneers. And Gardner Minshew, 1 year, $3.5 million for the Colts.
I kind of slept through that entire rundown you did. That's how relevant I think it is. I think the most relevant one, honestly, and dude, don't try to trade me no Gardner Minshew for no third round pick no more.
Hey,
You tried. Um, uh, I think the most relevant one is Taylor Heineke signing with the
Carolina.
Falcons. Because I mean, is he there to push Desmond Ritter? Or like how old is Taylor Heineke? He's like what 26, 27?
29 point. It's
Oh
he's going to be
wow,
30 this
man.
season. He's going to be 30 this year.
Wow, man. Time flies. Yeah, he's definitely a backup quarterback territory. So I mean, I'm guessing that the Falcons are hoping. I mean, unless they get Lamar, I'm guessing the Falcons are hoping that they can have like a little quarterback competition during training camp, and
Yeah.
Desmond Ritter shows something. I definitely don't want to believe that they want to move forward with Taylor Heineke as their starting quarterback. Most certainly not.
Yeah, I mean, of those guys we talked about, he got the most money. Um, but is that because he's the best player, or is that because Atlanta had the second most cap in the NFL and was just able to throw some shit at him?
I think it's a combination of both. I think Taylor Heineke did show a little bit in Washington. He showed that he can win some games. I think that
Mhm.
got him a little more money. Um, and I also think the Falcons just had money, and
Well,
they
for
needed somebody to come in there. I don't know necessarily if he's an upgrade over Marcus Mariota. Like, why not just pay him? But then maybe
mhm,
Marcus wanted to move on. He got benched last year, so
yeah.
I
Well,
mean
for
it's kind of dumb.
what it's worth, Taylor Heineke in his press conference, his introductory press conference, he came in and said he's excited to be the backup for Desmond. So
Oh,
he said that he's just coming to be the best backup quarterback he could be.
so he's feeling like Jameis. Okay,
But
all right.
he even said that here's the thing. I've seen interviews with Taylor Heineke, and some people love Taylor Heineke, some people don't. Um, I think Heineke, I don't know, man. I don't have a really solid opinion about Heineke, but even in Washington, he had said a couple times that like he prefers to be the backup quarterback than the starter. Like there's
Mhm.
actual interviews where he said like he would prefer to be the backup. Um, and so I don't know if I had a guy who I was signing and said that he doesn't want to be a starter, I probably don't want that guy on my team.
Yeah, no, it just
It
reeks
just
of
tells me you don't want to be here.
beta energy.
It
It's
just means like he's just
like
like
I'll be the
I'd rather
backup.
yeah, I'd rather just sit on the sideline and get my paycheck, man. I don't really want to
I
do
don't even
anything
I don't
for it.
even agree with Jameis doing that because I still think maybe I'm crazy. I still think there's some teams Jameis could start for. Like
Dude,
I don't
Brandon
agree with
asked
Jameis. Just settling to be the backup behind Derek Carr. I don't agree with
Brandon
that, but
asked me about Jameis Winston because he was like, "What do you think about Jameis Winston?" And I was like, "That dude signed a contract that literally, in the language of the contract, says that you will get no starting opportunities." And he signed the contract. That dude does not want to play football anymore. I was like, I do not care to have that guy on my Dynasty Fantasy Football teams because he doesn't want to start. He doesn't care. Like he's
no,
just a roster clogger at this point. I don't want him.
yeah,
So
like
that's how I feel about Taylor Heineke too. But let's get to the running back position because there was a couple interesting ones here. And the big one being 4 years, $25 million, 13 million of the 25 fully guaranteed to Miles Sanders to go to Carolina. Um, How do we feel about Miles Sanders in Carolina? I would have to assume that he would take on a bell cow role for the Panthers because the next best guy is Chuba Hubbard, and the money that he got paid is kind of bell cow money.
Yeah, man. He's going to get, use a wrestling term. He's getting a push. He's getting a push in Carolina. Um, he he's not C-Mac at all, like at all. But
No.
I was kind of a little bit worried about him when the Eagles let him go. But this contract in this market in Carolina, I definitely think he's going to get the opportunity. But just like with Darren Waller, can he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy
This
long enough to produce?
this felt like best case scenario for Miles Sanders, in my opinion.
He would possibility for a huge uptick. They don't even have a wide receiver right now. Their best wide receiver is what? Terrace Marshall?
Yeah.
Like,
And they
they
don't
don't
have
have a
draft
wide
picks.
receiver right now. And they don't have draft picks. So now you got a running back who's gonna be the primary runner and possibly the primary receiver. So
Probably the best guy on the team.
yeah. I think I'm
At
gonna
least on
take him off the
offense.
trade. If you had Miles and you had him on the trade block because you knew his Eagles career is coming towards the end, go ahead and take him off the trade block.
Yeah, this was best case scenario. I went in, I don't know if you saw it. I was on vacation, and that news hit, and I knew that he was on B-Dub's trade block. And I said, you know what? Let me go over there and see what I could get for him. And I just went over. I knew B-Dub had been asking me for a month for Wandale Robinson and Odell Beckham. And I said, I would just throw both of them over there and see if he'll accept it for Miles Sanders. Well, he did. And I got Miles Sanders for Wandale and OBJ. And so yeah, go see if you can get
You
Miles
know, B
Sanders.
Dub gonna see this and he gonna defend. He gonna be like, "Yeah, man, nah, man, Miles Sanders trash."
He
He
already
gonna be
did.
throwing
He
all
already
the
did.
dirt. Oh yeah, gonna
He
throw
already
all the
did.
dirt on Miles Sanders.
Because Brandon was getting on him in the chat, and B-Dub was like, OBJ about to go to the Chiefs, and he said Miles Sanders trash. He was trash for the Eagles, and this is a worse football team, so he's gonna be trash for the Panthers. He said a worse O line, like he was just talking trash. But I said, hey, I just want you to like the deal because I like the deal. I just want you to like it because I like it. But
Yeah, yeah,
I ended up getting Miles Sanders. I can't hate on it. But your boy David Montgomery ended up going to play for the Lions. So, I always hate when somebody in the division ends up going to play for another team in the division, but
yeah.
it's a pretty significant contract. It's 3 years, $18 million. 11 of it was guaranteed. How do we feel about David Montgomery on the Lions? Because there's two questions that I have really about it. Is one, is David Montgomery going to be an upgrade to Jamal Williams? And then two, how significant is this to DeAndre Swift?
Oh man, I see somewhere. I think it could have been Pro Football Focus or something. Where they were saying that you want to go after Swift and Montgomery. Like I couldn't disagree more. I think it hurts both of them. I don't think I've watched David Montgomery for years. David Montgomery, let me tell you, he is a hard worker. I feel like him in the locker room is a bigger boost than him on the football field. Yes, he's a
Okay.
capable running back, but I don't necessarily know if he's Jamal Williams. Because if he was Jamal Williams, he would have been doing Jamal Williams things last year. Because instead of getting his lunch taken by Khalil Herbert, um, so when you think about that, it's like, okay, well, yeah, the Bears had one of the worst offensive lines. Yes, they did. But they had the top rushing offense in the NFL. And yeah, it had a lot to do with Justin Fields. But David Montgomery, in my opinion, was like third on the reasons why they had the offense behind Fields and behind Herbert. Herbert just looked more explosive. David Montgomery is not explosive at all. He's a east to west runner. Uh, He'll get you about 3.5 yards per carry. I just don't think he's going to replicate Jamal Williams. And as far as Swift is concerned, I think that if I'm DeAndre Swift, I'm thinking, damn, these guys really just don't believe in me. Just don't believe in me. So like from an emotional standpoint, if I'm Swift, I'm not feeling good about this at all. Like, yeah, maybe I'll produce the same or a little bit more with Montgomery there. But at the same time, like, how many of these guys, like, you couldn't even bring in a less profound running back. You get what I'm saying? Like, they could
Yeah,
have brought in somebody like,
James
I can't
Robinson.
think of James Robinson. That's perfect. They could have brought in James Robinson, where at least the fan base and NFL fans alike would have looked at like, okay, Swift is the number one guy. But instead, you brought in a guy that was for sure viewed as the number one guy in Chicago last year. So I'm not high on Swift, and I'm not high on Montgomery. And I'm not
And
saying that because
arguably,
Montgomery is a traitor. I'm just saying.
yeah, and I would say arguably Monty was one of probably the top 5 free agent backs overall, period. Like, you brought in one of the top free agents and paid him top 2 money at the position in free agency so far.
After Jacobs, remember I told you after Jacobs resigned and Saquon resigned, I kind of looked at him as like the top running back on in the market. I feel like, for
Him and
example, I feel
Miles.
like him signing to Carolina. I look at it like this: him and Miles were 1A, 1B. If
Yep.
Montgomery signed to Carolina, we would have been saying the same things, minus the possibilities as a receiver. We would have said,
Yeah.
"Oh yes, an uptick for Monty." If Miles signed to Detroit, we would have been like, "Okay, Swift, you're probably feeling down right now." So I mean, they signed a running back to not even keep the perception that Swift is still the number one running back. I'm not buying Swift. I'm not drafting Swift. Yeah, no. Like Swift at this point, both Swift and Monty could be my number 3 running back. That's like the best. They're right in the same boat with Alvin Kamara. You guys could be number 3 running backs. And because we didn't talk about that, because we didn't get to that yet, but we will.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess with that being said, man, I kind of agree to the point of where, like, I've also seen the PFFs and some of the other people saying that, like, oh, now is that perfect opportunity to go buy low on DeAndre Swift. And I'm like, man, I'm just getting the vibe that DeAndre Swift season isn't ever coming. Like, we keep saying, like,
Oh,
oh, it's DeAndre Swift season, and it's like, I don't think it's coming, man. Like, at
it's
this
been like
point,
2, 3 years.
yeah, at this point, like, we're going into year 3 of the contract. He only has 1 year left after this. Like, I'm like, you know how I look at it, and I'm like, I want to have the running backs on their rookie deal on my dynasty roster, and I'm looking at it like, okay, now I got to deal with David Montgomery for the last 2 years of DeAndre Swift's rookie deal, and then he's gone. And it's like, we're never gonna get the bell cow full usage. Like, we're never getting that out of DeAndre Swift. And at this point, I think if you have people who believe in DeAndre Swift, because there are DeAndre Swift stans out here. And if you have people that believe in him, call them today, sell them. Just sell them to them because they're willing to pay a decent dime for them, and just sell them, man. I do not want DeAndre Swift on my roster at this point because it is just not worth the price or the value of
No.
what he's worth is going to outweigh the production. Like, he's worth more than he will produce at this point. And at that point,
Yeah.
I'm out. And we do have a comment in here, and I do want to say, because he says Swift or Kamara, and I know I just went on a whole rant. I know I just went on a
Oh
whole rant
man,
about it, but
they're like
at this
twins right
point,
now.
yeah, I mean, both of them have value dips,
Jesus
but
Christ.
I do think that, based on the age of DeAndre Swift and the age of Alvin Kamara, I do lean DeAndre Swift here.
Me too.
And I think it's
Yeah.
just because the value is there, and you can hold Swift and hope that in that second contract that he gets with a new team, hopefully, that he's going to be able to give you 1 or 2 seasons before he's 26, 27 years old, where he can produce RB1 numbers, hopefully, if he goes and gets a bigger contract. But I just think we're at the end of Alvin Kamara. And so if I'm looking at both of these assets in the same bubble, I'm taking the guy who has a longer shelf life and has more potential to get better. I just don't think Kamara can get better at this point.
You know what? Honestly, I would move Kamara and a mid draft pick at this point
For
if I
Swift.
could get Swift. I just Swift. You one guy's older and punched the guy out and bragged about it on camera. Um, I'm going with
Yeah.
Swift.
So
And I'm a Kamara owner, so
would you
at this
trade
point. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, would you trade Kamara and a 23 second for Swift?
I will if it's a
I would.
low. If it's you said you wouldn't.
I would. I would.
Yeah. If it's a low second, yes. But I would definitely be trying to convince the person I'm trading with to take my third. I'll definitely be trying to. I'll be trying to say my third and my fourth. Like I'll me. I'll try to keep all the second round picks.
Would you do a 24 second? If it was 24, does that change it?
Yeah, I would do a 24 second. I would do a 24 second to trade Kamara because, like I said, dude, at this point, I'm looking at Kamara like I have a team where I have Joe Mixon, Kamara, Miles Sanders, Javante Williams, and I have somebody else that doesn't come to mind right now. I'm looking at Kamara as a flex at this point because nobody will trade for him, and I can't get anything for him. So I'm just like, okay, I can just look at you as like, who are you playing this week? Here, let me plug you here in the flex spot. I can't look at him as a 1 or 2 anymore.
Okay. I pulled up Keep Trade Cut. It's consensus. It's community rankings, right? People vote on it. It kind of gives you a lay of the land, how people view other players. I'm gonna name you 4 or 5 guys that are ranked just below DeAndre Swift, and you tell me if you would trade Swift for that player straight up. So,
Yeah.
would you do Swift for Deontay Johnson?
Yes.
Would you do Swift for Derrick Henry?
Yes. And this is from the standpoint of me being a person trading Swift.
You're trading Swift away for this player.
Yes.
Okay. Would you do Swift for Calvin Ridley?
I would.
Would you do Swift for Amari Cooper?
No, I don't like Amari Cooper.
And last one, would you do Swift for Miles Sanders?
No. Believe it or not, no. I want Miles Sanders I want Panthers Miles Sanders. I
Okay.
want fake
So
I want fake Christian McCaffrey Miles Sanders over Swift. Yes.
okay, so 4 of those 5 guys, you said you would just trade Swift for them. The only one you said you wouldn't was Amari Cooper. So
Yeah.
that's some deals that if you do have Swift and you're like, I don't want to be a part of this roller coaster anymore, you could trade him for a couple of those guys and send out some offers and see what happens. But I definitely would be more than fine swapping Swift for Deontay Johnson right now. Like that feels like a really good trade for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's talk about Jamal Williams because we just kind of left the Lions, but he ends up going to the Saints, 3-year, $12 million. 8 million of that's going to be guaranteed, potential out after 2 years. But at least for the next 2 years, Jamal should be a significant piece of that running back rotation. And do you like Jamal Williams here in New Orleans?
Here's what I'll say, because I'm going to say a little bit about what this does for Jamal and what this does for Alvin Kamara.
Okay.
I like Jamal Williams as the Saints running back. I honestly do believe that he may even get similar. It might, if it's not a 50-50 split, I think that it's going to be Jamal Williams getting more carries than Alvin Kamara. Here's where my question comes in. So, needless to say, I think Jamal Williams is going to produce. I think they're going to like go away from the whole. If he's even still on the team, the whole Taysom Hill getting carries crap. Jamal Williams is a legitimate like runner. Like he's not like a washed freaking uh Watch the guy that was there before he came back. I don't know why the
Oh,
name
Mark
Ruben
Ingram.
Drones. Yeah, Mark Ingram. I don't know why Ruben Drones. That was like 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, Mark Ingram.
uh, he's not that. So what it makes me wonder about Kamara, I know as a Kamara owner, some people, and I mean, I know you got a close eye to everything. So, and even with Dallin, like the question always came about, like, why won't you guys split out Kamara and let him take on more of a role as a receiver in the offense, right? They weren't
Hmm.
doing that last year. So imagine if now you got Jamal Williams here taking half or most of the carries, and you're still not splitting Kamara out. Effectively, you're moving him to being a backup running back. So I mean, I'm gonna be really concerned if I'm the Kamara owner. Like if you don't have running back depth or he's your number one running back, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I think for me, it just says like, hey, we fully expect Kamara to get a suspension, like a hefty suspension,
Yes.
probably. Like that's what it's telling me because it's almost like they've front loaded some of the money to the first year, so it's like we're going to rely on Jamal Williams in 2023. That's what it says to me. So,
Yeah.
um, beyond that, I don't know, but at least it looks like this year, like Jamal's probably going to be the lead back for the New Orleans Saints, and I think that's a good thing for fantasy football value of Jamal Williams because he was kind of the lead back in Detroit, but you still had Swift coming in. If Kamara's suspended, it's Jamal Williams and nobody. Like nobody. So
Yeah.
Jamal Williams is going to get a decent amount, and he's playing with probably an equal offense as far as Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, Derek Carr. It's probably equivalent to Amon Ra, and Jameson wasn't there half the year. Jameson wasn't there most of the year, but it's probably equivalent to uh, Amon Ra, DJ Shark, and Jared Goff. It's probably just the same thing. So Jamal performed pretty well over there in Detroit. Imagine taking Swift out of the equation and putting him there in New Orleans. It might be. It might be. Is Jamal Williams have potential to be a top 12 running back this year?
It's possible.
It's
It's
possible.
possible.
It's possible. And you're not going to pay top 12 running back prices for him at this point.
No. No, you're not.
So
Like I mean,
if
the
you
more we
want to,
talk about, the more I'm wondering. Like, can I go out and get Jamal Williams? You know.
that's what I'm
So
thinking.
I
Cause
mean,
I'm like, how much do I have to pay to go get Jamal right now?
what
You
would
could
you pay for
probably,
Jamal in terms of draft compensation?
am I a contender? I'm assuming I'm a contender.
Yes.
As a contender, I'm willing to give a late second.
Hmm.
Like two
Even
eight, two
so,
nine, 210,
even
211, 212.
in this draft, in this draft, with the depth of running back, you would take, let's say you have 2.6, or you trade
Mm-hmm.
2.6 for Williams.
I'm going to try really hard not to,
Yeah.
but I don't think there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to score you the amount of points this year that are rookies at that spot. I feel like Jamal's going to outscore a lot of those dudes. So if you're really looking for somebody who you think let's just say you're a contending team and you are a running back away or a couple pieces away, 2 or 3 pieces away, and you're like, who can I go get that's going to give me more production than they're worth? I'm trying to bargain hunt. Jamal Williams is somebody you could bargain hunt with because I really do think it sounds crazy, but I really do think that top 12, top 15 potential for Jamal Williams this year, that is probably where he's going to land if he stays healthy. And how many times can you go buy a top 12 running back for a mid to late second round pick? You can't.
No, yeah, no, no.
So if you're going to bargain hunt and you're going to take the gamble, it's a gamble for sure because the running back class is deep this year. But you're taking a gamble on a rookie anyways. So if
Yeah.
you're going to take a gamble, why not take a gamble on a guy you think can finish top 12, top 15?
Truth. It's the truth.
So that's what I would. That's where I would be at it. And now that you say that, hopefully nobody from our leagues is watching this today, because
Yeah.
I'm gonna go try and land a Jamal Williams share in one of our leagues after this
Oh
episode.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
But let's finish out the running backs. There's no other significantly substantial contracts. Nobody else signed big contracts, but for some reason, the fourth highest paid running back in the whole free agent market so far has been James Robinson, and he went to the New England Patriots. So, how do you
Making
feel
their back.
about
What, Andrew? What did we talk about? Didn't we recently talk about this in a previous video about
Mhm.
Ramondre and New England, and we was ranking the running backs, and we were giving our reasons for why Ramondre was so long lived. This is why.
Yep,
This
yep.
is why.
I think who did we give them in our video? I want to say we gave them a decent back because we said that this was going to happen.
Could have been Miles Sanders or something. I can't remember.
I thought we gave him like Devin Singletary or something.
Yeah, yeah. Because he
Yeah,
looks like
so
Sony Michelle. So yeah, them kid kinda that I can see that.
yeah, but he landed there. I don't think he's going to damage Ramondre Stevenson that much. I think honestly, um, he is a lesser version of Damian Harris. So in all honesty, what you got out of Ramondre last year, it's probably a slight upgrade for Ramondre at this point because James Robinson is a little bit less talented. And so um, this is fine, I think, for Ramondre. I don't think it's, but I think this is good for James Robinson because I think they're going to use him. So
Yeah,
if you have James Robinson, this is a decent landing spot. There probably wasn't much better than this case scenario for James Robinson.
yeah. You can definitely put him on your bench. That's for sure.
And if Ramondre does get hurt this year, James Robinson's season is going to come back. I don't. It's going to be one of those things.
I don't know
Um,
why James Robinson's season ended last. That was still like a weird. The whole thing with him was just weird to me. Like
because
they could have
Trevor
just
said you
kept that.
better start playing my boy.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just
Yeah,
like, dude, like they had a perfect complementary backfield, and they
whatever.
whatever.
But a couple more of the small ones is and how are you on time? Because this is looking like it's going to be a little bit of a longer episode today.
Yeah, I'm peaking. I'm peaking for sure.
All right, all right. Um, well, some other contracts was Pirine to the Broncos. Madison resigns and it goes to the Vikings. Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert go back to the Dolphins. Mike Boone to the Texans. Travis Homer to the Bears. Uh, Dante Foreman to the Bears. Boston Scott to the Eagles. Rashad Penny to the Eagles. And then Chase Edmonds goes to the Buccaneers. So that's kind of the rest of the misfits at the running back position, so to speak.
Three of those stand out. Samaje Perine to Broncos for obvious reasons. He's
Yep.
there filling in until Javante gets healthy, which from all I'm hearing is that they're making it seem like Javante is going to roll out there week one. Like you
Nope.
said, you had doubts about that, so but they're trying to definitely play it up as if it's going to happen. Um, then we had Rashad Penny to the Eagles. I like it. I would definitely have Rashad Penny on the team, but you know that you better have a backup running back ready to go, which I think is Kenneth Gainwell. I feel like they're in the territory to draft another running back because I just don't see Kenneth Gainwell. Knowing how injury prone Rashad Penny is, I can't see that they're comfortable with Kenneth Gainwell being, the main ball carrier if something happens to Penny. I just don't see it.
Hmm.
Um, and Deontay Foreman to the Bears, he's gonna be Khalil Herbert's backup. I don't see him as the starter. It's kind of weird that they even signed him. I wanted them to draft somebody, but I guess Khalil Herbert's young, so I mean, I guess Why not give him a season to see what he can do?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's pretty much the ones that stood out for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Penny one is interesting. Hopefully the people who are in my DMs asking me for Rashad Penny in the league aren't watching because I'm going to give my honest opinion here on him. Um, and the money that they paid Rashad Penny does not look like starter money to me. It's like 1 year, $1.5 million. Uh, so it does not look like starter money. I would not take Philly out of the equation of a Bijan or a Jahmyr Gibbs in the draft. I would not take them out of that
I agree.
equation. And so
I agree.
this might be a sell high window on Rashad Penny, to be honest. So I do want that to be noted. Sorry, but let's
If I
go
can move
to
Penny, we have him in the league. If I can move Penny for a second, which is going to be hard because I think you own all of them. Um, I think between me and you, we own all of the seconds.
yeah,
But if there's a second out there, a lonely second that's not owned by either of us, and somebody wants to get Penny from, I would offer him. I offer him for sure.
yeah,
But anything lower than that, I probably would just be comfortable just letting him chill on my bench.
yeah. I agree because I think when he does play, he's going to be solid. It's just a matter of how much can you get out of him. I don't know, but when he does
I
play,
might
he'll be
try to
solid.
move him for Khalil Herbert.
That's not a bad move. Um,
But I think Tyson might have Khalil Herbert, so
yeah, he's high on him.
so
But for what it's worth, Tyson is very high on Rashad Penny too. So uh, it depends on who he's higher on. I don't know, but let's get to the wide receivers and the tight ends because the wide receivers is a small pool. There's not a lot of people, and then the tight ends
yeah,
there's like two guys to talk about. So
yeah.
for whatever reason, at the wide receiver position, the dominoes have not been falling so far. Now we knew that the wide receiver class in free agency wasn't super outstanding, but uh, the biggest contract of the offseason so far has been Alan Lazard to the New York Jets. So let's talk about Alan Lazard. It's 4 years, $44 million, $22 million of it is guaranteed. There was a wish list supposedly for Aaron Rodgers, and it was to go get Alan Lazard. How do you feel about Lazard on the Jets? What is this?
Uh, lose my number. Nice try though.
Yep.
um, I think it's in the honestly for the amount of money it is, I think it's super irrelevant. Like you're paying a guy who's like the third best receiver on your team all this money just because it'll make the quarterback comfortable. Like, I mean, honestly, if I not if I was Gary Wilson, but if I was Elijah Moore, I would be pushing even harder to get traded. I know now I think they had like a little bonfire or something and was like, and I'm just shaking my head in sadness, like, Elijah, he's phasing you out.
Yeah,
He's
like
phasing you out. He's not thinking, oh yeah, I got Elijah Garrett and Allen. He's thinking, oh yeah,
I got
I got
Garrett.
Allen, I got Allen Garrett and Randall, and then you. Like
Yeah.
Elijah needs to push to be a
They
bear.
he needs to say I know you want him to be a bear. But he needs to say, "Look, if you're trading for Aaron, put me in the deal. Send me to Green Bay. I'll
Yes.
play with Jordan Love. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, send me to Green Bay and I'll play opposite Christian Watson. And I might be better than Christian Watson, honestly. But
Yeah.
send me over there. I don't give a shit. I don't want to play for the Jets anymore.
Yeah. Honestly, I think whether he asks for that or not, he might actually be in the trade.
He should be.
Green Bay would be smart to ask for him,
They need a wide
especially
receiver.
especially if Green Bay ends up, because I know you heard the report, like I think it came out this morning, that they asked every GM that's not involved in the trade, would they trade a first for Aaron Rodgers? And, because Green Bay thinks they're getting two firsts for Aaron Rodgers. And all the other GMs are like, we wouldn't trade one first for Aaron Rodgers. But if you put Elijah in there and maybe a third or something like that, I think that's I think that's the best they're going to get. I mean, Elijah's a round one level wide receiver and young.
Yeah.
I think you can move that for Aaron Rodgers and be happy about it, and then you give Jordan Love some legitimate weapons, something Justin didn't have last year. You got him Christian Watson, you got him Elijah Moore, and you got him Romeo Dobbs. So,
Yep.
but yeah, man, Alan Lazard. You notice that most of this has been about Elijah Moore, and that's because Alan Lazard is a very pedestrian wide receiver. I prayed the Bears didn't sign Alan Lazard, and thank
Yeah.
God they didn't.
Yeah.
I think Alan Lazard is like a better version of Equanimous St. Brown. And like that's just how I look at him. And he's going to go to New York. He's going to produce like a jet.
Yeah. I think for me, man, all this really says, and it looks obvious to me. I don't know how it looks to other people, but I would be cutting Corey Davis, because Corey Davis,
Oh
if you
yeah,
cut Corey Davis right now, it's gonna save you like $8 million.
yeah.
So Alan Lazard could just replace Corey Davis for me, and then I'd call it a day just to appease Aaron Rodgers, I guess. But other than that, there's really two other significant signings at the wide receiver position. Now, we were talking about Darius Slayton earlier. He did end up signing with the Giants. That is a contract that happened. So,
Okay, so they got both of those guys back.
yeah, they got both of them. But the other two contracts that I was going to talk about is Jacoby Myers and Juju Smith-Schuster. Um,
Oh,
both of them got pretty equivalent contracts. It's 3 years, 33 million for Jacoby to go to the Raiders, and it is 3 years, $26 million for Juju to go to the Patriots. So, how do you they kind of are similar players, but how do you feel about Juju in New England, and how do you feel about Jacoby in Las Vegas?
hey, hey, come here. Bring me that tombstone. That's Juju Smith Schuster. His career is dead. He's done. He's a Patriot. He's a Patriot. Um, Here's how I look at it. Jacoby Myers was better than Juju last year.
Yeah.
Juju played with Patrick Mahomes. Jacoby played with Mac Jones. Juju was slated to be the top wide receiver in Kansas City, and he was worse than Jacoby Myers. So I'm supposed to believe that a guy who was worse with Patrick Mahomes is about to go to New England and play with Mac Jones and have better numbers. No, he's done. He's done. Mac Jones is probably done. Like those guys as a collective are done. I'm way higher on Jacoby Myers in Vegas, and I think Renfro might even be off the team. We'll see, because I was hearing trade wins or whatever about that. We'll see if Renfro is even there. But Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Mac Jones, and yeah, dude. Sorry for you, Juju. I mean, I hope your budding TikTok career is taking off to the heights unimaginable, because I think poor Juju, man. Poor Juju.
Yeah.
Oh
I
no.
got
Oh
I got in
no.
a little bit of an argument, just a debate, really. It wasn't an argument, it's a debate in another one of my leagues, because somebody was sick, just sick for the landing spot for Jacoby Myers. They thought it was horrific. Um, and they were saying that like Hunter Renfro could be a better wide receiver than Jacoby, and Jacoby might be the wide receiver 3 now underneath Hunter Renfro. And I was like not having that conversation. Like, I do not believe that Hunter Renfro can beat out Jacoby Myers. And you're telling me they're going to pay Jacoby to go play for a former Patriot coach and a former Patriot quarterback and a former Patriot yada yada yada, $33 million to be the wide receiver 3? Hell no. Hell no. Like, Jacoby is a wide receiver 2. And if that's valuable in Las Vegas, I don't know. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar, but ain't no way that Hunter Renfro is going to be more valuable than Jacoby Myers moving forward.
No. No.
Just
Absolutely
it's just
not.
it's just blasphemy. But at the wide receiver positions, there's a couple like sneaky additions. And you tell me if any of these are relevant to you. But Deontay Hardy, or formerly known as Deontay Harris before he changed his name, he signed with Buffalo to almost a $10 million deal. And then Paris Campbell went to the Giants for 1 year, almost $5 million. So are either of those interesting?
No. I didn't. The
No?
first guy, honestly, I think he used to play for the Saints. I don't even know who he is.
Yeah, he played for the Saints.
I mean,
Or
maybe
played for the
because he
Saints.
changed his name, but I
Yeah.
don't even know who he is. So and
Yeah.
he's going to Buffalo. Okay, they released Isaiah McKenzie. He's nothing but the next McKenzie at best. Then
Yeah.
you have, and honestly, I don't even think he's that because I think Khalil Shakir is going to be above him. So
Sneaky.
yeah, just get him out of there.
Yeah.
And Paris Campbell, I mean, how many of these guys do the Giants need? They're literally the same guy. Sterling Shepard, Darius
Paris
Slayton,
Campbell.
Paris, they're all the same guys. All three injury prone, all three the same guys. Like,
Yep.
I mean, I guess
Yep.
maybe if you look, I guess if you have enough of them, if one goes down, you got the rest. That's why I said they're that team as far as the receiver cover is Darren Waller and the receivers. That's the name of that group.
You know what
Darren
this
Waller and
tells me?
those guys.
This tells me they are drafting a wide receiver come draft day, because it seems like they're getting their depth figured out, because none of these guys are getting significant contracts. All these contracts are small for their wide receivers. So it's like they're getting the depth figured out, and then they're going to draft their wide receiver because they don't really have any other significant needs, really.
None of those
Um,
dudes are number ones.
So they're going to go in, they're going to get a Quentin Johnston or a Jordan Addison or a Jackson Smith and Jigba. They're going to get one of those guys and plug them in. And quite honestly, all of this has pointed to signs. I've been trying to sell them in every league that I have them in, but it's been pointing to signs that Wan'Dale Robinson is just overvalued in Dynasty Fantasy Football. People love Wan'Dale Robinson for whatever reason, maybe because he had a good stretch last year when he was alone, that he kind of looked like he was going to be a PPR monster for a little bit. But Wan'Dale Robinson, man, I'm getting out because it looks like they're just continuing to add to the wide receiver room, and it's the biggest need. And I think they're not done. I don't think they're done.
Now, don't get me wrong. I know it's new management. I know, they have the Husky guy from Buffalo as the coach.
Dayball.
Stable. I know they made some changes. I still look at the Giants because of the way they handled Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley's free agency. I still look at them as an inept organization. I think they botched their free agency, giving
It's like
Daniel Jones
Gettleman
that
era.
money.
The
Yeah,
Gettleman
like
era.
yeah, like I still feel like they're inept. Um, because here's the thing, they traded for Darren Waller, but they already had a pretty good young tight end on that team, Bellinger. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like so. Do I think there's a world where they play both tight ends and almost have Waller as like a de facto wide receiver one? Yes. I'm not saying they're not going to draft one. I think they're still going to draft one. I think it's not like they're going to cut Wandale. I think Wandale will still be,
Slot
on
wide
top of
receiver.
all those other guys we mentioned. But we'll see, man. I just don't think that they're not going to use Bellinger. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and look, man, I've been a David Bellinger fan, and he's kind of somebody that I've been pumping since rookie drafts, and this just hurt, man. This hurt my heart because Daniel Bellinger season is never coming. I don't think, at least to be a top 10 tight end for Dynasty. Like, it's not going to happen. But that sucks because he is he's a Las Vegas kid, man, from Palo Verde High School. So
Wow.
you want to see those Vegas kids win. But we got two more in this draft. We got Darnell Washington from Desert Pines, and we got Dalton Kincaid from Faith Lutheran. So both of those guys are Vegas kids. So we'll see. Keep rooting for the Vegas dudes. But
Darnell Washington is from Vegas?
Desert Pines.
Wow.
Yeah, and Dalton Kincaid played at Faith Lutheran.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, Kincaid
All right.
was basketball and football at Faith Lutheran.
All
Could have got a
right.
scholarship in both.
Sheesh.
But
It's a
Yeah, so
surprise that neither one of them went to Bishop Gorman.
I know, and I kind of like that though because I'm like Vegas.
Yeah, me too.
Vegas needs the high school football landscape to continue to be competitive, and
Parity.
if everybody dips to go to Bishop Gorman, I mean, we have Brevin Jordan who went to Bishop Gorman that came out of Vegas, but uh, we have a couple guys out of Vegas. I was talking to Brandon last night. I said, is Vegas a tight end city? Like we got Brevin Jordan, Darnell Washington, uh, Daniel Bellinger, Dalton Kincaid. Like we got a lot of tight ends coming out of Las Vegas, man.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but while we're talking about tight ends, there's two significant contracts at the tight end position. So let's talk tight end free agency, and then we'll get on out of here because we are approaching that time. But the biggest contract from the tight end position is Hayden Hurst. He goes from Cincinnati to Carolina on a 3-year, $21 million contract, guaranteed $13 million. How do you feel about Hayden Hurst as a Carolina Panther?
Nah, that's kind of my answer to it.
Yeah.
Just like
What's up, Bryce? She says, "What's up, guys? Love all of the content." And he said, "Oh, and of course, Skull, baby."
I'm outnumbered here. I'm outnumbered.
Outnumbered. The Chicago Bears versus the two Skull guys. But anyways, yeah, I think it's meh. It's Hayden Hurst is decent. I don't think
He's a solid tight end. He's a solid tight end, but we're gonna have the same questions, Drew. Like, who's gonna be your quarterback? Is the rest of the team going to be so bad that he's going to be ineffective? And another thing too, Hayden Hurst is Hayden Hurt. He's always hurt. So
you know what you can say about Hayden Hurst though? He's the best receiver on this team.
Yes, he is. He is. Unless you want to count fake Christian McCaffrey, Miles Sanders.
So he is the best receiver on this team. So if they don't add any wide receivers, which I don't think that they will not address the position. I think they're going to address the position. They have to. You do want to target tight ends for fantasy football. This is kind of a strategy that I have used throughout my fantasy football career is target tight ends who are at worst the second receiving option on their offense. So the Panthers could go and they could add a wide receiver. Maybe they get a Zay Flowers or a Jalen Hyatt or something like in the second round come draft day. Hayden Hurst is still going to be the second receiving option in the offense, which when you pair the second receiving options criteria with an athletic profile of Hayden Hurst and a couple other variables, at times you get breakouts at the tight end position. So I'm not saying that I'm stamping Hayden Hurst as a breakout candidate for fantasy football in 2023, but if he's the number 1 or the number 2 receiving option in Carolina, I'm not opposed to shooting a shot there. I'm not opposed to it because the value that you're going to have to pay is going to be cheap. And anytime you can get a breakout at that tight end position, it's worth it because that landscape is so scarce that if you can find one for cheap, it's the same reason we were talking about Juwan Johnson, right? Like if you can find one for cheap, it's worth it. So I'm not opposed to shooting Hayden Hurst for very cheap. Maybe you can get somebody right now in your league to sell you Hayden Hurst for like a 4th round pick. If you can go get Hayden Hurst for a 4th round pick right now, totally worth the gamble in my opinion. So yeah, that's what I would say about him. And then the only other one that now I'll address the elephant in the room, right? Let's address the elephant in the room because the Vikings gave Josh Oliver a 3-year, $21 million contract. Now I don't think that this is nothing good for fantasy football. However, the only thing that I will justify this from a football standpoint is that Josh Oliver ranked out as one of PFF's top 5 blocking tight ends in the NFL last season. So this is more of those like it's a good NFL football move, and it's totally irrelevant for fantasy football. Like
yes, it's the same deal as the Bears signing the run Travis Homer. Like Travis Homer, he said during
Perfect.
his press conference that he's one of the best blocking tight ends in back. He's one of the best blocking running backs in the NFL, and he's
Yep,
good
he
on
is.
special teams. I mean, and Bears fans, oh my God, you let Montgomery go, and a minute later you sign. He's there for special teams and blocking purposes.
Yep.
Like that's
And,
it.
and Travis Homer, he really is one of the best running backs in pass protection. He might be the best pass protecting running back in the NFL. He really might be, but
Yeah,
that is what his job is. And Josh
yeah.
Oliver's job is to come in and block on run plays and get an extra guy in there blocking for Kirk Cousins on play actions and other stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not going to be fantasy relevant. So I did want to
No.
address that because I know some people who see the Vikings hat and see the Vikings jerseys, they're going to be like, why don't you talk about Josh Oliver? That contract is so bad. No, the contract is fine. It's front loaded. He was only guaranteed 8 million of the 21 million. So like he's not guaranteed anything. And it's front loaded. He's a blocking tight end for us. You're not going to see him show up on the stat sheet, but he's going to benefit the Vikings in football games. But the other one that is fantasy relevant, and it hurts me a little bit because I don't love it, but Mike Gesicki signs with the New England Patriots a 1-year, $5 million contract. And Mike Gesicki goes into a tight end room with Hunter Henry, and it almost kills both of them, in my opinion, man. It's just, I don't know. B-Dub was talking about Gesicki going to the Patriots, and he said, dude, that is so fire. And I'm like, dude, I don't see what you see at all because I think this sucks for Mike Gesicki.
Hey, are you done digging that plot next to Juju Smith-Schuster? Make room for Mike Gesicki. That's all. Like he's done too. He's done. Put a fork in him. He's done. He, oh man, the guy. Rest in peace, Mike Gesicki. He didn't even get to learn the gritty properly before he passed on. I,
God damn it. It's going to be him and Mac Jones hitting those gritties.
oh
You
man, that's
remember
gonna
Mac
be
Jones hitting the
horrible.
gritty in the Pro Bowl? Oh my gosh, they're
Mm.
going to hit that gritty.
Oh
Mm.
man, he's gonna gritty right to the grave.
God
That's what
damn.
he's gonna do, man. Ah man, Mike Gesicki, and Mike Gesicki is such a good tight end, man. Honestly, honestly, wait a minute, hold on. There's another relevant tight end signing I got to bring up because I almost accidentally forgot to talk
Oh,
about it.
Tanyan?
I think I wanted Mike Gesicki to sign with the Bears, but the Bears had another sneaky good signing with great value, Robert Tanyan, a Chicago kid, re-signed, which is the theme of also the Bears signing guys from Chicago. Um, I think that's another sneaky good tight end signing. But man, I wanted them to sign Mike Gesicki, but instead Mike Gesicki decided that he wanted to end his career early, I guess.
So you brought up Tanyan. Give me your opinion on how this is going to affect Cole Kmet, if at all. Does it affect Cole Kmet at all?
Well, from what I understand, Cole Komet, and I get these two mixed up all the time, man. I think Tanyan is a U tight end. Like he's a move tight end, I believe. So he's going to be more of that, receiving type tight end, and they want Cole Komet to be a receiver and blocker. I think Cole Komet is a very capable receiver. I don't think Robert Tanyan is healthy all the time. He's always a little banged up. I don't think it's going to hurt Cole Komet that much. I think Justin Fields is going to be a better quarterback this year. So I think Cole Komet produces more. I still see him honestly as the second best receiver on his team, even above Darnell Mooney. Believe it or not.
Okay, so you would be comfortable ranking Cole Kmet as a top 10 dynasty tight end.
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely,
cool.
absolutely. Who are the 10 that's above him besides the obvious?
I'll give you some names. Let's pull them up and you tell me how you feel. Uh, I'm gonna go keep trade cut. Let's see the consensus rankings here. We do have at the tight end position. I mean, you say the obvious, so we're gonna exclude Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, T.J. Hawkinson, George Kittle, and are we gonna exclude Dallas Goedert?
Yes.
Okay, so exclude Dallas Goedert. So what about Pat Freiermuth?
Him
I
and Cole
probably
Kmet
lean.
are fairly close.
Yeah, I lean Freiermuth.
Yeah, but they're fairly close. Yeah.
Yeah. What about Darren Waller?
Volume. I have to keep Waller up there because of volume and what I think
Okay.
he's going to be to their offense.
Evan Engram?
I'm putting Cole Kmet above Evan Ingram.
Me too. David Njoku?
I'm putting him above Njoku.
Me too. Greg Dulcich?
I'm putting him over Greg Dulcich.
Me too.
And
And
I know you
then
love Dulcich.
I do. And then the obvious guy that we haven't talked about, and it's going to be hard to rank because we don't know where he's going, but Dalton Schultz.
Since I don't think there's no other place besides going back to the Cowboys, which I don't think he's going to do,
I
that I
think
think
there's
he'll
two
produce
places.
more than Cole Kmet.
I think there's two. I
San
think
Diego, I'm
actually
not San Diego, LA
no.
Chargers.
Actually, you say that now. There's four, in my opinion. So the Chargers, the Packers, the Commanders, and the Texans.
So I'm going to wipe three of those out because of their quarterback situations.
And you're taking Packers, Commanders, Texans out.
Yeah,
But okay,
yeah.
so we're gonna say the Texans aren't a solid landing spot if they get CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. Rookie quarterbacks rely on tight ends to.
They do, but I got to see it before I believe it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think
Or as
I don't
Patrick
know, man.
Mahomes said, I gotta believe it before I see it.
Yep. Whatever. But that's the only ones that I would say. So yeah, I think Cole Kmet lands in that top 10. I think he's towards the bottom of the top 10 list. But
Yeah.
he lands in that top 10 because I think if we put him above Ingram, below Waller, he would be like, I think he would literally be tight end 9 on the list. So
Yeah.
it just depends how these guys, Kincaid, Mayer, Washington, how do these guys look when they come into the league? I don't know. Do any of them push into that top
I
10?
mean, but dude, shout out to tight ends, man. Like I remember it wasn't too long ago that you had a solid like four
4?
tight ends that you could start. And now
Yep.
like we're up there talking about top 10 tight ends. I mean,
Yeah, and
shout
we're
out to
trying
the
to like
tight end
debate who
position.
makes it into the top 10. Like there's a couple guys worthy of being in there, but maybe they don't make the cut.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're saying. So
Yeah.
um yeah, but that's it for the free agent tight ends. I would say notable guys that we're still probably waiting on are going to be Dalton Schultz, Irv Smith, and maybe Austin Hooper. I don't know, but those are probably the three guys. Oh, and Foster Moreau. Foster Moreau's a sleeper to me, and he just visited with Cincinnati. If Foster Moreau goes to the Bengals, that could be decent. But I'm really interested to see where Irv goes because I'm just kind of surprised that Irv doesn't have a bigger market than I've seen so far. It seems like nobody is talking about Irv Smith Jr. And as a guy who has Irv Smith Jr. on every single dynasty team that I have, and I'm not kidding. Like I literally have him on every. I have 100% roster percentage of Irv Smith. It's scary. I want him to go somewhere, but that's it for the free agent tight ends. Is there any notable notes that you have? Any news? Anything we haven't touched on today that you want to touch on before we get on out of here?
No, man, I think we were able to get most of it, if not all of it in.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got all of the notable signings so far. There's going to be a couple more that trickle in as the week goes by. But really, other than that, I think we're good on free agency. Will maybe touch on the news of new signings as they come in future live streams, but I don't think we're going to do a free agency live stream again. This is kind of our frenzy episode. We spent an hour and a half talking about all of the signings up to this point, but I think next episode, what we're going to do is, and look, as we're talking about it, a trade just went through in our league, and Tyson just bought Rashad Penny, and he paid Alan Lazard and James Robinson for Rashad Penny.
All right, Tyson, get ready. I'm
I'm
coming
gonna
for
send
you.
you some Rashad Penny too, Tyson. You better get
Yeah,
ready,
man.
man.
Tyson here, man. I'll give you all the pennies you want. You get
Yes,
enough pennies, you
sir.
might be able to get a quarter. Let's do
Yes,
it.
sir. But as I was saying, yeah, guys, if you can go trade Rashad Penny, why not? There's people who want to buy him. So anyways, our next episode is going to be, I think we'll get back to our regular scheduled programming. It'll be Mondays again because we just know that Monday nights end up working best for both of us. So we'll do Monday. I think we'll do regress or impress, and you and I are going to take probably 3 guys we think are going to regress next season and 3 guys we think are going to impress next season and significantly outperform their value. So we'll do a regress or impress episode. I think that one will be pretty fun for everybody to watch. And we'll kind of talk a little bit more about it off camera. But other than that, that's really it. So if you guys like the content, please make sure to put a like on the video, subscribe to the content, do all of the stuff, man. I tell you in every episode, you know what to do by now. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. You guys know it. And really, that's it. So we will see you guys here in a week for the next live stream. More content coming soon. And that's it, man. So thank you guys for checking it out. Peace out.